call the March 2022 DDA board meeting to order. If everybody would stand and say the pledge with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, now you can do the roll call.
Okay. Tar.
Here.
Kellogg.
Here.
Melson is absent. Rose.
Here.
Hayes is absent. Poznansky.
Here.
Stevens.
Here.
Parker. And Brandt is absent.
Okay, I don't think we have anybody here for public forum. Before I ask for approval of the agenda, we're going to table a few items under the unfinished business. We're not going to have the presentation tonight by Think Street. Sean had some kind of surgery on his hand, is not able to join us, so we'll move that to April. And then we're going to go ahead and table the bookkeeper posting job, her job posting. So with that, can I get an approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next up, approval of the minutes from our February 7th meeting. Hopefully you all had a chance to read that. And we just need a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes is presented.
Second.
Was that second by Rose?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Financial,
You want to take a vote?
all in favor?
Aye.
Our financial report presentation by Carla.
I assume that you read through them. I don't want to spend too much time on it. Not a lot changed, it's just normal monthly activity except for the Winterfest. Tried to put descriptions next to amounts that I thought you might have questions on. Elizabeth was interested in moving the marketing, the new website from down under community promotions back up to professional services, training, and membership. So that was moved. I did end up changing the cash a little bit. I ended up giving you a separate page with the bills paid because it was, a decent number this month, and from different accounts and so forth. So, not that any of that really matters. As a part of moving to Tri-County, we're going to consolidate to one account instead of three. It all earns interest. We only had $50,000 in their account for less than a month, and we earned more interest there than we had earned for the over $100,000 in Huntington for the whole month. So we're all going to put everything in one account. So that means all the checking and payroll will come out of one account now. I kept getting things kind of messed up with the check number sequences. That's why they're all out of different accounts. Doesn't really matter, especially since we're going to be closing them all out this month. But that that was why I kept that as a separate page. I also included the updated TIF and millage revenue page. I personally would have liked to have changed the format of the schedule, but when I talked to the Romeo Village accountant, he said that this is the proper format to use. It's still a little confusing, but I tried to add some consistency and additional information to help you understand it. The only thing that really changed from what you had been seeing in the beginning, before, was that we received a $2,900 check from the village, which tied out our millage with them. We should still be in April. I think it's in April and May when I looked back at last year's, getting this remaining budget that's open, under the difference column, there's 10,000 for Bruce and 17,000 for Washington. Those will come in the next couple of months. And then that will be the total revenue that you were expecting to receive. The other thing that we did this month that I think should give you some comfort levels is before, when checks were being signed, they were just taking the checks over for signature. Now when we do it, we attach the invoice, and everything is very transparent then. So whoever is signing the checks, which up to this point has been Kelly and Zach, on your behalf, they're reviewing each invoice before it's paid now. And I think that's a very important policy or procedure to keep up with once I'm no longer doing it, because they're doing that on your behalf as a board, and I think that's very important. So I don't know, does anybody want me to talk about anything particular? Do you have any questions?
A couple questions. First of all, can you go backwards and clarify? You said we moved website development to
Yep.
professional services from where?
It was down under
Community
community
promotions.
events, that kind of an area. It was
Community
down.
promotion?
Yes.
So that's just simply,
Well,
The-
my original thought was that it was because it's, the update is now really providing the community with the ability to track the businesses and so forth, that this first year when we were making the larger investment, that was maybe the right spot. But I definitely feel like going forward, it would go under, where it's at now, the
I think
professional
it was under
services.
marketing, was it under, it was under CBD events and marketing.
It was under marketing,
Did-
and now we're putting it under professional services. Going forward, it's not gonna cost you $3,600, it's only gonna cost you whatever to,
$100 a month, if we
Yeah.
choose to do it that way.
so it's gonna be a lot less, so I was gonna switch it next year. Elizabeth felt strongly that she wanted it up under professional services, so,
that's all fine. I agree with that. My only, the question is only pertaining to, does it affect the budget at all?
oh
We're
no,
not-
I moved the budget with it.
Okay.
So, I moved the whole line, so everything moved with it, it just
It's a
switched
wash.
categories,
It's a
so it
wash.
doesn't,
Okay.
it didn't impact
So
anything.
it did show up on the budget, but you've moved it so that.
Yeah, so if,
it works
I
out.
have to put my glasses on here to see what the budget number was, but whatever it was, it just followed it.
Okay.
It went from 880.20
Mhm.
to
What I kept it as,
wherever it went,
Eight-
880.230.
Okay.
It
That's
just went
fine.
from one line to another.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure that it followed through with the budget.
yeah, it had a
Um,
budget of 2,500, and that just moved with it.
Then my, one more question, sorry. And I know there's a statement later on here, I think it's going to be discussed. Winterfest. Not mistaken, there was $5,000 approval on Winterfest, and I see 5721
Mm-hmm.
as far as actual expenditures.
Right, but I put in there that there's a $900 offset from the grants. Elizabeth was able to get a grant for one of the banners, and so if you would deduct that, then she would be under the $5,000.
That's where you're getting your 4650, I'm assuming, Elizabeth?
Right. Yes,
Or
correct.
Close to it.
Because the 900 has to come in as income, and then it goes back out as an expenditure, so that's why,
And-
the amounts are higher than the 5,000 because you actually got the income, so they offset each other.
And then, since we're on that, and I apologize if I'm jumping ahead, the Winterfest donations did not count to offset the budgeted $5,000.
Yeah,
This was in addition
No,
to-
I think that is a good point. I didn't realize the extent of those donations until I got the board packet. I was going to discuss with Elizabeth on Wednesday. There's a couple of options. Since those were they were all non-cash donations, the listing, there is an option to put them on as, I just had the word in my mind. you can put them on as a line item that is non-cash related donations.
Donation
If you
in
want
kind.
to show in kind. The word is in kind. It was taking me a second to come up with it, sorry. So it's an in-kind donation, and we could put a line item since it came to, was it $4,000?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually more than that, because one of the donors, the numbers weren't available due to a family
Okay.
situation. It's actually substantially more than that,
Well,
but we
but
knew
then it
that
would be
going into it.
less, because one of them actually was cash, the 900. So, but, so if you guys want to see that on a line item as donations that are non-cash based, it's easy enough to just add another line that says in-kind donations. It will not affect your income at all. It will come in and go out. But it is there for informational purposes, if you would like to
But
see
you had
that.
it as a report in,
Right, I'm
packet.
saying I can put it on the financial statements if you want it.
I'm fine with this.
Okay.
Yeah, the budget report regarding the event, that was something that I created.
Mhm.
That wasn't something from Carla. So it's just mainly for you all to see the value added
Mhm.
from the donations that were sought, so.
Carla, one quick question, maybe more for Elizabeth or the board or whatever, but looking at that, training and conferences, did we really only budget $100 for training?
Are you looking at the proposed budget amendments, or are you looking at the statement of activity for right now?
I'm looking at proposed budget versus actuals.
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, I'm reading it like, we budgeted $100 for,
Yep, that's correct.
do you think that's too much money for training maybe?
I sense sarcasm. Well, wait till we get to the amended budgets and you'll see that
The
that's
amended
been
budget at
changed.
the end will, yeah,
I didn't want to overtrain.
okay.
I mean, I think it just shows where where the board has decided to invest in the community by making some dramatic changes. So I think that's a great example of the improvements that that you guys are trying to make.
Okay, then we need.
I'm sorry, this credit card statement, is this First National Bank of Omaha?
Yes. I checked into getting one from Tri-County so that all the statements would be easily together. They third-party it out. It could still be accessed through the website, but it goes out to a third party. So if you decide you want to change it over, it's fine, but in the end, it's kind of it's not really consolidating in the way that I thought it might be. So it's really a
Then
decision.
I'm sorry, one other question, and I don't know if this is for Kelly or for the board in general. I've noticed in the past, when listed on a statement to approve payables, as I call them,
Mhm.
often I've seen the board member abstain. Is that normal policy, or is that just personal choice, personal preference? Anybody know?
If you're going to be benefiting from something that we're paying, that's usually when you would abstain. So like, there's Romeo printing on here. Christine would abstain. She made money, or she benefited from that.
Are you talking about
So it's not
the
correct to vote on it, so she would have.
Credit card transaction,
Yeah.
John?
Okay.
So, all right.
Do you
So-
want, okay, so the motion that I had for the amount of money was I put it on the bill payment list.
So you need to make a motion to approve the payment of bills through February 28th in the amount of $15,575.87.
Is that a motion or are you asking for it?
I'm asking for
I'll
one.
make that motion, we pay the bills as presented here.
I'll second.
Roll call, Elizabeth?
Yeah, give me one second.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I had a wrong sheet here. So, okay, so that
Greg?
was motion by
Greg?
Char and second by Kellogg. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Char,
Yes.
Malzahn is absent, Brandt is absent, Rose,
I'll abstain.
Hayes is absent. Poznanski,
Yes.
Stevens,
Yes.
Parker,
Yes.
Kellogg.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Carla.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Carla.
Up next, Elizabeth Miller, Director Report, please.
Okay. I'm kind of getting away from the 3-page report. Things are getting a little bit more, getting a little more even keeled in our ship here, so I didn't feel it was necessary. Plus, we've extended some things out into other areas, that are down in either unfinished business or new business, so, or it's in another report, for example. So our first Romeo Winterfest was, by all accounts, a huge success. Street, sidewalk, shops, and restaurants were filled with shoppers. The Masonic Lodge was a hub of activity between the chili cook-off, kids' crafts and games, and the 4-hour concert. Horse-drawn wagon rides were constantly full with lines on both ends of town waiting for a ride. We had heard from multiple businesses that their sales were at a record high for this time of year, but maybe close to a Peach Festival numbers. I was surprised to hear that, but very delighted to hear that. None of this would have been possible without the DDA board, you guys, believing in the concept and on such a short notice. So I really appreciate you and thank you for your faith and belief in that. My team of volunteers deserve all the credit for the smooth execution of all the activities. Without them at so many different hubs, there's no way it would have come off as smoothly as it did. The attached report is just for a clearer understanding of the scope of their commitment. We will have a post-event meeting that's scheduled for this Thursday, March 10th at 10 a.m. to go over what worked, what didn't, and how we can improve or expand for the next year. And I would encourage any board members, if they can, to attend, and that's at the Village Hall. Upstairs in the DDA office. Downtown beautification. Sometime this month will be spent assessing what parts need to be purchased for our planters, baskets, and banner hardware on the poles. With our upcoming sidewalk project, a few of the baskets will not go up until that quadrant is complete. This will ensure that those gorgeous displays are not damaged due to the construction debris, etc. Several painting quotes have been obtained for the lamp post, and the rate is substantial. I got the second quote in, I think, Thursday before I left for the weekend, and it's pretty steep. I'm recommending that we wait until after the crosswalk project is completed. Even the last quote that I did receive, he said I would recommend doing that. He said with using that kind of paint, he said if you have cement debris and the dust blowing around, he said it's just going to embed itself into the new paint, and it's just not recommended. But we're also, during this time, I'll be working with the village to pursue some possible alternatives to our downtown lighting that may include some things that have been looked at in the past couple of years. And I might be leaning on you, Megan, if that's okay, to bring some of that historical knowledge on that. There's some other options that have been brought to our attention just regarding some different grants and whatnot. So I'd like to lean on some of the board members who have some of that institutional knowledge. That would really help. Budget preparation for fiscal year 22-23. As requested, we will need to schedule a goals and objectives meeting for budget items prior to next month's board meeting. We could attempt to do this in one meeting. However, I would recommend that we schedule a few sessions. It's been suggested by a few board members that an early board meeting would be appreciated, and if we limit it to an hour, I think that would really respect everyone's time, and it can really help keep us focused. And I'd like to get them scheduled within the next 2 weeks, because what that will allow Carla and I to then do is really focus on getting those numbers correct, make sure our focus is correct, and she's got to move all those numbers around, and that does take time as we are not her only client. Is there any questions about any of that so far? Okay. The Michigan Downtown Association, as you see, I gave you tonight this packet right here. And that is all 6 sessions for this downtown management training series. If you remember a few months ago, you all approved the purchase of this series. It was a total of $150 for the whole entire board. So there's not separate fees. It's the same login information. And these are all the PDF supplements to each one of those webinars. And I think Kelly had some thoughts and ideas as far as how we'll keep on track on that. Or how you all will keep on track on that as a board to ensure that we're all learning at the same pace. So you'll probably go over that later. Okay. I'm continuing to attend the monthly webinars regarding best practices and other areas pertaining to all things downtown. I just got an alert today on my phone that there's a new episode for the In My Downtown podcast, so I'm excited about that one. And then, of course, I jumped around a little bit, but the Downtown Management Series includes the following items: demystifying DDAs, downtown management basics, updating a TIF plan, which y'all have already done, but there's some good information there, how to be an effective board member, DDA reporting requirements, and then meeting management. So the MDA, I'm really impressed with what they've come up with, and I think it's a benchmark that a lot of boards should really reach for, just to have training in place. So if you see on the next section, I included actually one of my volunteers. She helped compile all of this, and I said, can you just, with what you're aware of in the hours that were put in and whatnot, and she came up with this, and I was a little floored. I knew the numbers were high as far as volunteer hours that have been put in those 45 days to create this event, but I was surprised at just how many there were, but yet, at the same time, if I take a quick step back, now I know why it went so smoothly. There were a lot of people working for a long time to make this effective. I'd also like to take this time, on the second page, Ace Hardware came through for a craft project. People were walking around with those sticks, those 5-gallon stirrers, so they provided that. Macomb County, I really appreciate them donating the money for our banner. The MIT TV provided the billboard on 53. There was a little snafu with one of the sponsors on there, which actually got us the billboard on M53 for free, which then brought in more donations because a couple businesses saw that it was up there and said, hey, we want to contribute to this. So that was a nice thing. Juliet Chocolates contributed to the prizes along with Wilson Veterinary Clinic as well. Graphic Designs, she doesn't want to give me a number because she just said I did this because I wanted to help the community. So she's not really comfortable giving me a number. And Ransky and Sons, they were phenomenal providing the volunteer headquarters for the whole entire day. There were snacks on every table. They were just amazing, and Elizabeth was there a decent part of the day, and next year he said, I don't want you guys selling the marshmallows, I'll donate all of it. So they're really excited about next year as well. So I really I think a lot of times we don't quantify what volunteers do, and so to get an idea of how much time is involved in that, I really felt that's important, and that is one of the things I'd like to do moving forward for each event or something that we have, is just to pay attention to what are we getting out of this when people are volunteering their time. So is there any questions?
Very well executed.
Yeah, well done. Good job.
Yep.
Was there any way to try to find any kind of an attendance? I mean, there was no single event where people were checking in, so there's no guess.
Yeah, that's a great question. I will say we had 400 crafts, and they were all gone before 1 o'clock.
Do you know how many people on wagon rides?
I'm meeting with the owners on Thursday actually, and so we'll be going over some of those numbers, and they're really they're on board to join at the other event we have.
Interesting number just to know for curiosity. And then
for sure.
Do you know if there were any potential wagon riders that were disappointed because they stopped, or was there a line?
There was. I had the whole entire day. I was there from 8 a.m. until almost 7 p.m. And there was one lady who was upset because she didn't know where they went, and that was when they took a break. That was it. There was no complaint about the charges. There was no complaint about the waits. Typically, there was a 2-round wait. I don't know what else to call that, but because there was a line. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have 2. Maybe there'll be a trolley in addition to a wagon ride. I'm not sure, but people were really. And I think what was really effective. What was really effective about it is by having a drop point from A to B and then the return route, different riders. I had people saying, I never knew that store was there. It's just like when you walk versus ride a bike versus drive a car versus another mode of transportation. You see things from a different perspective when you're in a different mode of transportation. So that's what happened. Greg was down there in front of his building for the first part of the day. And there was, one of our stores that they do about 90% of their business online. They saw record numbers of people coming in their store that never even knew they existed. And a lot of it was because of the foot traffic that was forced to either walk down or walk back because they you know, it was a one-way ride, so.
We had 115 at the chili cook-off.
It's good numbers. And the restaurants were running out of various things. We had, my husband and I went to one of the restaurants for a late lunch, and I was still mingling with a lot of the customers. What was exciting to see was almost every table, one was either, they were couples, or they were you know, different couples together, families, and at almost every single table there were shopping bags from the stores in town. And that's the point of having these events, is to build the economic.
Well, the chili cook-off was supposed to run till 3. They ran out of chili at 1:30.
Good problem. And one of my friends won. That was really fun. So yeah, Kelly and her team did a phenomenal job of pulling off the chili cook-off, and she was gone the week before, and still it was phenomenal. So and I appreciate everyone who helped, because we couldn't have done it without you. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth.
Absolutely.
Okay, we don't have any funding requests. Committee reports. I'm going to wait until we go down to the new business for our committee, the subcommittee for the policy. So that takes us to the parking study committee. Are you speaking on that, or?
John, did you want me to speak to that, or would you like to speak to it?
I'm fine with that. Karen.
Okay, I didn't know who was speaking.
I'm fine with that.
With me doing it? Okay.
You go, Greg.
Oh.
Okay.
Are you sure,
Greg was at the last one, you know, the meeting before. Greg, did you want to say anything to that, or do you want me to speak to it?
I'll listen to you, and if I need that, I will.
Okay, fantastic. It was brought to my attention before last month's meeting that it might be best to handle this within a board committee of the DDA, and so that's what was decided. And I'm grateful to Greg and John and Zach, yes,
Carl.
and also Carl, yes, thank you. They were all on the committee, and since Greg was out of town last week, Christine was supposed to join us from the village side of things, and then of course she was quite ill, so she wasn't in attendance. But what was decided from that, we found, and I unfortunately don't have the information with me, it's at the office, but Lake Orion is like, it's becoming kind of like our poster city for the way that they handle their downtown parking. They have 4 or 5 different, it's 5 locations that they have parking share. And so they have a joint, actually I've got my notes right here. They have what they call shared leases that are negotiated with the different business owners. And what they get in return is striping of the parking lot, police coverage of the lot, insurance that's covered under a village umbrella, and then of course signage that's provided. And so we've established 4 or 5 key places where business owners already are okay with people parking there. But now it's just making it a little bit more official. And so what we're going to be presenting as a committee, we're going to work through this every week. We're going to be presenting to the village council to have the same signage at the village lots that would also be in these shared leases. And so there's no money exchanged or anything like that. But what it is it's shared signage. Each space on the personal property, on the private properties, would have clear signage as far as when it's available for public parking. And they've already worked all the kinks out over at Lake Orion, so I've already have copies of the various agreements that are signed between the business owners and the Downtown Development Authority, and it's run smoothly. She said initially there were a few businesses that kind of rejected it, and then after about a year they were like, wait, this actually might be a good idea, and so they joined on, and it's been been very advantageous for their community. So
What I'll add is Elizabeth's talking about a shared parking agreement, which is what will be presented. The subcommittee all agreed this is just one small block to the large task of the parking in the area. But we felt the first and probable quickest small step. But there's many more ideas and many more steps to come after this. But they're just going to take a little longer, probably a little bit more money, so we figured we got to start somewhere. So again, just to clarify what Elizabeth said, this is just sort of small step 1.
yeah, and this would be a pilot program basically, and then we're also, if y'all have noticed, downtown, you look at the signage for the parking. Like, you can barely tell that it says 3-hour parking because it's so faded. One of the other things that they do well, and Molly, who's the DDA director over there, they switched it to 2-hour parking, and then the end parking spots on each block are actually limited to 15 minutes. So for businesses that just need quick in and out, it helps with that. I'm also working on my rapport with some business owners that are a little less likely to move their vehicles during prime times, and trying to really work on persuading them why it's advantageous for those spaces to be freed up for patrons of their business and other businesses. And some of them are warming up to that idea. So it's just going to take a little bit of time.
How are those monitored if someone
They're
sits there all day?
not. There's
They're
nothing
not,
in
but so
that.
that
Eventually, we could potentially, if the board were to will that, I mean, that is something that we could budget it at some point. But for now, we just figured it was a good thing. Let's start something, and really get the word out there that we can fix this problem, but we can start it in stages. It doesn't have to be one fell sweep.
It's been discussed on enforcement several times, and you're dealing with dozens and dozens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Because it'd have to come through the police department, and
Right.
due to some Supreme Court decisions, you can't even mark with the cars anymore because you're touching private property. I think it's somewhere, there's a ghost memory of 40 or 50,000 bucks to do an enforcement. It's
Wow.
just, oh my God, because you got to hire.
Yeah, you'd essentially
Through
have
the
an
police.
officer just for that all day, and you would have an officer just for that all day,
Right, that's
essentially,
what-
and that's
that's-
how much that would
Yeah,
pretty much cost you.
it might even be low, because I know we've heard the number before, and it's like, oh, you've got to be kidding, but no, you're not.
So
That's my answer to her question.
awareness and wayfinding signs will make a
Right.
big difference in that. And we'll see how it works. And if it doesn't work, we'll go to Plan B.
Well, as John said, this is a starting point, right? So, Greg, did you have anything to?
No, I think she summarized it well, and I think that it's gonna be key to get some of these people participating, because there's a lot of parking around here that if we could get the shared lease agreements and such going, I think we'll be in good shape.
Okay, very good. Okay, let's go on to unfinished business. We tabled the website. Next up would be the pedestrian crosswalk project update.
So I'll just give you an oral update on that. I didn't print you guys anything. Unfortunately, there's going to be a cost increase, as in everything has gone up. I'm a little concerned in that when I went back and looked at board meeting minutes from when this was approved, the first motion that was made at that, and I didn't bring copies of that, it failed, and then the next one passed, but there was no dollar amount. So I'm not sure how that, so I think that's something I can work out with the board chair to see how you guys want to move with that moving forward. But there could be, anywhere as, a 20%
I thought we
increased.
did an up to amount, not to exceed, no?
Well, when I look at the approved minutes, there is not a dollar amount.
Okay.
So that's something we can look at. There was another change in the plans that's pretty minor, and that's something that falls under, my wheelhouse that I can take care of. But there's a space in front of the Masonic Lodge for planters, and one of the good things that Roe pointed out was if it's built into the contract and they plant daylilies, it has to be built into the contract that someone is hired to come in and actually water those all the time. So, which would cost us an exorbitant amount of money. And so Roe luckily said, hey, you guys already have a contract for flowers and whatnot. Why don't you just let the director figure out what goes in there, and then it can just be part of the watering when they actually go in, which won't even be till probably August. So that's a slight change in that. But we'll start working on signage and communication as far as letting the public know when that's going to start. So bids go out shortly, but it won't start now until probably June. And we've gotten Road Commissioner Don Brown involved, so we can really keep things moving. And he's helping to push things through, which we're grateful for with the county.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is the appointment of the treasurer, and we had Greg Tarr volunteer to serve in name only, but with the compliance of his industry, it required a bylaw change. So I don't know if you guys went to the back page where we have the proposed new language for this. This proposed change does have to go to the village council for the ultimate yes on this. So that I'm asking to approve the bylaw revision, treasurer's duties of the Romeo DDA for recommendation adoption by the Village of Romeo of the Board of Trustees as presented. So this page, this bylaw change will be going right to them.
Kelly? It
Do you have,
says,
do you have a motion?
no, wait.
Okay.
Well, what?
It says that you're gonna have 3 people signing each check here. I don't think that's your intention. There should be an "or" in there someplace. Second paragraph.
Okay,
It says
all
the following,
all checks
board
should be
chair-
signed and countersigned by the following: board chair, co-chair,
And executive director.
or executive director should
Well,
be.
you'd have to put something like 2 of the following to do it, but the way that's written, if you're gonna say it doesn't work the way it's written.
We can
I
change
read
that
it and I
language
said, wait a
easily.
minute.
Well, we
pardon?
can change that easily.
Yeah, I know we can, but it's,
Well, we need to change it right now. It said,
that's what I'm saying. You
all
gotta-
checks should be signed and countersigned by the following: board chair, co-chair, or executive director.
By 2 of the following. I would put the word "to" in front of the word "following,"
That's a
Okay.
good catch. That
Yep.
makes sense.
and then you can just leave it, board chair, co-chair,
Okay.
and executive director. Doesn't matter which 2 are involved, but 2 of the 3 have to do
Okay.
that. That's,
So just adding the 2 in there will take care of that.
that's correct.
Okay,
So you want it
I
to
don't
say
think
as
you're-
amended then?
as amended, yep.
I don't think your intention was to have 3 people
No.
sign the checks.
No. Okay.
So let's, yeah, okay. Thank you, Bill. Good call. This, and I maybe should have called you. I apologize. I was gone until late last night, getting back. This, I want to make sure, because I'm the one agreeing to it. I didn't see this when I went through the package. Somehow I missed it.
Do you want to, the new proposed language: the treasurer will offer guidance to the executive director and accounting staff to ensure good fiscal planning, decision-making, and oversight at a government level. The treasurer shall keep the financial records of the DDA or assign to the executive director. The treasurer shall perform such duties as may be assigned by the board.
Yeah, I mean, that's a little, we gotta be a little careful that are signed by the board, because some of these are duties I can't do, and I'm not gonna do signed by the board, so that's all, I just
So
want
don't you
to make
want to
sure.
put, after the word "assign," said duty, on what you're assigning when you say "or assign"?
How about we take that
You can
doesn't-
take, you can
again-
Take
eliminate
that
the whole
sentence
last
off.
line.
Yeah,
Take the
let's-
whole last line off.
Yeah, let's do that.
That what the treasurer shall perform? Or what are we doing?
We're
Yeah.
taking that last
Making
line:
the
the
whole
treasurer
thing
shall
sentence.
perform such other duties as assigned by the board.
I'm saying the sentence before that, the treasurer shall keep the financial records of the DDA,
Or assigned to the executive director.
but what are you assigning? Or assign said duty?
Yeah.
Keeping the actual records. So
I
for
know that,
example,
but you have to put something in there if you're going to say you're assigning something.
right, the
Or
financial records
assign-
is,
Or assign said duty.
Right?
You have to put the word "said duty" in there, or something, because it just doesn't grammatically make sense.
I agree, Bill.
The treasurer shall keep the financial records of the DDA
Or assign said duty.
or assign said duty to the executive director?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And we're giving him specific authority at that point
To
to
turn it over.
assign it
Mhm.
over to the
Yep.
second. Otherwise, the words just "to assign" doesn't mean anything.
that makes sense, Bill.
Yep, good catch.
Thanks,
So
Bill.
with those revisions, you'll redo that before this is sent to I'm going to ask to approve the bylaw revisions as we've amended them tonight for the treasurer's duties of the Romeo DDA for the recommendation of adoption by the Village of Romeo Board of Trustees.
So, not to drag this on,
I have a
Part of the
motion.
re-
We'll come back and get input after, okay?
well, but are you removing this sentence as part of the revision? The
Yes,
last
yes.
sentence is removed as part of
Mhm.
the revision?
Yep. So we're adding "said" in that first paragraph, and we're adding "to,"
We're adding the words "assign said duty."
Said duty.
said duty.
Said duty,
Mhm.
the 2 words. And then on the other one,
It was
we're
by the
inserting the word "to"
"to." Mm-hmm.
by 2 of the following.
Yep, I've got that.
So we've added 3 words and that's it, but They changed the
Right, they
meaning of
clarify
it,
it
and we've
better,
taken
yep.
one sentence out.
Okay, can I get a motion?
I'd make a motion.
I'll second.
Roll call, Elizabeth?
Okay, Tar,
Yep.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Milzon is absent, Brandt is absent. Rose?
Yes?
Hayes? Absent. Kuznetsky?
Yes.
Stevens?
Yes.
Parker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll make sure to get that to the clerk puts together for it, right? Board packet. So I'll get that to the village so that it's included in their next board meeting.
Okay, on to new business. We have Kathy Dickens here from Four County Community Foundation. She's going to talk about the Return to Earn internship program. Welcome, Kathy.
If you want to hop up to the podium, that'd be great. Thank you.
Well, I should warn you, I'm a retired educator. You give me a podium and a mic, and
Well, you
I
could
might.
have, you could have interjected in those amendments there too.
But I'm really thankful to be here. I did go to the wrong building, and it was great fun. I did a little fencing, a little yoga, a little dancing, and then some arts and crafts with seniors. That was the group I fit in well with. But I eventually did come to the right place. It's always wonderful to come to Romeo. I love the village of Romeo and all of the people in it. And Elizabeth was kind enough to meet with me a couple of months ago, and we talked about Romeo business and foundation business. And she'll be a great partner in a lot of things, I think, in the future. She's bright, she's ambitious, and she listened to me when I said, hey, I've got this new program I'm trying, Return to Earn internship. Though it's a mouthful, the concept is really pretty simple. The foundation, since 1987, since it started, has issued a wealth of scholarships to college-going students every year, and certainly we do the traditional grant making as well. We've grown from $2.5 million in 1987 to close to $23.5 million now. Of course, that depends on the day and the market. I haven't even looked today.
Don't
but,
look.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I think I'll just pause that habit for a while. But the foundation does great work, and again, scholarships and grant making is traditional, and we've really tried to pivot. I guess is a word now that's used a lot, but it kind of makes sense. In 2019, the foundation did a survey, a community-wide survey. And basically to identify priority points. Like what should we be looking for in our grant making? What's important? What is significant? What are the weaknesses? Things that were lifted up, Lapeer County is anxiously wanting some transportation for senior citizens, which I know you have. So we look to you as kind of a leader in that. Lapeer County would like to replicate something like that. One of other issue is mental health. We've initiated Four County Mental Health for a Better Tomorrow Fund, and that will stand ready to issue grants for 2 nonprofits, 2 school districts, 2 organizations really that are serving in that capacity of mental health. So we're trying to address the needs that the community has identified. Also, young people and education are huge priorities. We recently initiated an Imagination Library Fund, which is early literacy project. Many of you probably heard of the Dolly Parton Imagination Library project. And so we have Friends of the Four County Imagination Library group that meets frequently. And they're trying to create an endowed fund that will last forever, of course, and fund early literacy for children ages birth through the age of 5, getting a book in the mailbox once every month during those 60 months. And that is great work. And so another thing that was lifted up on the community survey was just how do we support small businesses? How do we support economics? And we are a community foundation, so that's not necessarily our main work, our priority, but yet certainly we want to be a partner in it. And so it just dawned on us that perhaps in addition to college scholarships, which is really outgoing money, we take local charitable dollars and we put them in scholarships and we send them to universities And then oftentimes that investment never returns to the local area because the scholarship recipient may then relocate to Boston or relocate to Atlanta or various places. And that's all beautiful, and we support that wherever their path may take them. But we kind of wanted to build a program that might encourage young people to come back to our local four-county area. And so four-county Return to Earn internship is kind of built. It's a pilot program. We're just going to start the first session this summer. And it's an effort really to connect college students from the four-county area who graduated from high school around here to come back. You know, if you're in business, we'll find you a business internship. If you're in accounting, we'll find you an accounting internship. So far, I've matched a pre-law student to a local attorney. I have matched, well, a possible match of a biochemistry major to a wastewater management treatment center. I have a marketing, I actually acquired a marketing and communications intern for Fort County. I'm trying to think of the other, there have been many matches. Oh, excitedly, I believe that a local Romeo student has been matched with a local village office. And so we're very excited for students to learn about local government and municipal leadership, business, law, chemistry. I still have many interested students that I haven't matched yet, surprisingly, in the medical field, genetics and prosthetics. And so if you know of anybody that's a business leader or in the medical field that would like an intern, the beauty of the program is it's matched dollars. The foundation is issuing $2,000 towards the internship. It's paid internship, 8 weeks long, approximately $4,000. It may change a little with each internship candidate and with each placement. Some want to work part-time, some have 10 weeks available, some have 6 weeks. So of course we'll make that all work as we match them with their employer. But the foundation is issuing $2,000 towards the internship, and then the host employer will put in $2,000. And so we hope that that will be an incentive. Certainly if you're in pre-law, for example, if you can work with an attorney in an internship, live at home with parents, save on housing, while also you're not having to pay tuition. Again, I'm a retired educator. I remember well doing student teaching for a semester. I had to pay tuition to have that experience, and then I had to pay housing to have that experience out of my home area, and lived through that again with a counseling practicum, which was again another semester. I had to pay graduate tuition then to have that semester, and that's not only so with education. That is, true of many different career fields. You have to pay and pay again, it seems, to get an internship. So this is a different spin on things. So hopefully kids will come back, they'll get reconnected. I call them kids because anybody below the age of 40 is a kid to me. But hopefully the young adults will come back. We'll connect them with some great local leaders and businesses, give them a great experience. And the hope is that they consider returning to this area to work, bring their brain trust back to us, and open business or work for local industry, and make our area better. It's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to work and live. And so why don't we celebrate that by bringing them back? So that is Fort County Return to Earn. I'm excited to say that the Council of Michigan Foundations has partnered with me. I reached out to them and said, hey, would you like to explore this with me? This is the first of its kind from a community foundation. I'm hoping it works really well, and I'm hoping that it can be replicated other parts of the state. So the Council of Michigan Foundations, which is kind of our umbrella organization, they kind of oversee or help foster all of the community foundations in the state of Michigan. They're paying for a professional evaluation. Dr. Julie Morrison from Cincinnati University, I've happened to know her for quite a while. She does a lot of great work. So she's going to study this program and meet with the the cohort of interns, and also the cohort of employers occasionally to see how the program is going, what could be improved, so that next year when we roll it out, we, of course, are sensitive to those, make those improvements, and actually track the students, too, from this point on, are you going to come back? Are you going to come back if you come back your sophomore year for an internship? Might you consider coming back your junior year? Will you consider coming back here to work? And so we'll measure all of those things. We're excited about that. And I just learned that we also have a partner in the Michigan College Access Network. They're also going to help fund some internships because they find it to be an innovative program. Internships themselves are not innovative, but even local industry around here that I've met and talking about this program said, this is really unique, just because when we've had interns before, we brought them from far away. And it's always a little bit problematic because we have to help them find housing, and they have to be able to afford it. And so hopefully this will be a great experience for these college students, bringing them back and reconnecting them. And I believe Elizabeth will be taking advantage of the program and host an intern, if I'm not mistaken, or if she isn't committed to that.
You have to approve it.
Oh, well, I'm here to campaign for that. I understand there's a local student that does great work and would be a great match. And I'd be happy to entertain questions. And as I said, I'm a retired educator. I could stand here and fill up a lot of time if you'd like me to. But if there aren't any questions, I also have given you an annual report, and I've brought with me some Fort County, some other literature, if you'd like, on the different funding vehicles that we offer, donors, and different programs that we're involved in. It's a great business, the foundation, and so I'm glad to represent it. I'm glad to be here in Romeo. Any questions that you might have?
Are you customizing each intern? So what day, and are you doing that through the school year, or? And what are the time frames, I guess?
Yeah, this being our first time through, I started soliciting really to college students some time ago. It's a great business for the foundation to get into because we're members of all the chambers. And we're integrated with the high schools, and we have a lot of names already because we've had scholarship applicants. So I reached out to the names that I had at the foundation to kind of lift this up, wrote some articles about it. So we just initiated it a few months ago. And it is one student at a time. A student will reach out, they'll call me or email and say, this is my resume, this is my major, this is what I hope to do as a career, and this is the experience that I really need. And then I reach out in all of my connections locally and see if I can't place them in a significant experience. We've all heard of internships where kids get coffee and file, and we want really to make a good match so that they grow those career skills that they need, and that the internship host actually gets some quality work too. I believe one of the villages that recently partnered with actually a mechanical engineering student. She has a project assigned to her over the summer to look at water infiltration in the town, and so that's going to be her full time. And it never dawned on me, honestly, that a municipality would want a mechanical engineering student. That's not my background, so it's just really, really neat. So it's really unique. Each match is kind of done independent of all others, which is kind of fun for me, being a retired educator. I get all these connections with students, and great fun.
Any other questions for Kathy? Okay, thank you, Kathy, for coming in tonight.
Okay, question for either,
Well, I'm going to ask Elizabeth
where
to,
we're gonna get the money.
Yeah.
Well, that's why the budget is the next thing on the agenda. So, I'd just like to say to Kathy, I went to a chamber event back in November up at the Fort County Foundation, and it was a small group of us, and getting to know some other, and she said, we have this new project we're looking at putting out there, and so the seed was sort of planted with that. Then with our first winter event, Winterfest planning, which we didn't even know what was going to be called then, a volunteer walked through the door who said, I want to learn about event planning, and I saw the post on Facebook and want to check this out. And most of you met Madison last month, and so I then about, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, I reached back out to Kathy. We've talked a few times and we've met a few times, and I sent her resume, and I said, what do you think? Would this be a good match? And she's like, absolutely. Madison has put in over 50 hours for the Winterfest. I give her something and say, I need something that has this, and this in it, and within hours, it's done, and it's better than what I was going to suggest. So.
No question that where are we getting the money from?
Well, it's in your budget, in the proposed budgets that are a few pages into your board packet. So, and that's something that Carla is going to speak to, some of the numbers, of course, when we do the budget amendment. So, as she's saying, they've already approved their portion of it. We just have to approve the other part. I asked her if it could be 8 weeks doesn't work for me. I need somebody a little longer, but for fewer hours a week. I don't need someone full-time. I don't need somebody 40 hours a week. And so I said, can we tailor that? And Madison is, she's a senior at Oakland University, and she is a communication majors with a minor in American Sign Language. She's phenomenal, and she works remotely a lot with what she's done with her volunteer work. So this is a win-win. I mean, I put together just a list of some of the things that she could assist with, and this is, interns are an interesting thing, just like new employees, as all of you know who have businesses. One, you might have to hold their hand the whole entire time, and then you're wondering why are they even here, because this is taking more work. I don't have the time to do something like that, and so having someone who's already proven by her own volunteering that she doesn't have to have that happen is phenomenal. These are the tasks that would be helpful for us moving some things forward, which is also in some of the budget revisions, is some of the website content development and collection of data, collecting and compiling the business directory for all the CBD business operators, assisting with the development of the business information guides, assist with development of the CBD parking project, assist in developing the CBD events, including but not limited to Winterfest, Mayfest, Garage Sale Weekend, Sidewalk Sales, Peach Fest, Downtown Day, Oktoberfest, Small Business Friday, and Christmas events. Assisting with the development of CBD mapping for wayfinding stations, website and pamphlets for distribution, marketing, social media, scheduling, help with some of the IT information. That was an interesting, new, fun thing that happened today, which I'll tell you about some other time. Help creating content for the blog postings to be featured on the business section in the monthly, on a monthly basis, and then help to source some contracts to reduce costs for annual expenses that are quite high, looking at budgets moving forward. With staffing to do some of that, we'll be saving money in many other areas by not contracting some of this stuff out.
Elizabeth, I'll make
Yes.
the motion. Just tell me where we're getting the money.
Well,
If you go to the proposed budget amendments, Carl has built it in to the employee expenses.
we're switching, to answer your question, Bill, we are moving, let's see. We're moving, a lot of those costs, those revenue cost share projects that won't be completed by June 30, they're getting moved into fund balance because we can't spend that money by June 30th. And there is excess of, over $200,000 that's just floating out there, not being used. And so this will allow us to move things more effectively at a better pace.
So the recommendation is to approve the Four-County Community Foundation Return to Earn Internship Program as presented.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. Roll call.
Can you give me one quick second?
Bill made the motion.
Yep.
Greg.
And
Greg.
then Tar seconded it.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Tar,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Malzahn is not here. Rose is not here. Hayes is not here. Buzanski?
Rose is
Oh,
here.
I'm sorry, Rose. I'm sorry. Sorry, John.
Yes.
I see you. My apologies. Getting a little roll here. They're out of order. I'm using something that was created before, and I'm a little confused, so I apologize. Poznansky. Brent is not here. Stevens?
Yes.
Parker?
Yeah.
All right, awesome. Yay, we get to work together. I will add, thank you for believing in this. You're going to be really more impressed than you already are with what she's done, and hopefully what we can do together. One of the things that I appreciate about Kathy, if you don't mind me taking for a second, she's willing to tailor this to the needs of the organization, which I think really shows a lot of faith in the foundation wanting to work with us on this. And then, didn't you say that you'd be meeting with the interns, was it once a week or once every couple of weeks, something like that?
Once a week.
Yeah, so they'll be doing that, and I would imagine we'll, have reports as she comes up with that plan. We'll get reports back to you.
Does she graduate in May?
She does.
Okay, so you said we were going to tailor this to, do you have any idea how long that this?
I would like it, I have already talked to Matt, as I told her, this got approved through 4 County, but I don't know about if it's going to get approved by my board. And I said, would you be interested in this being a 12 to 16 week? And she said, absolutely, that would be much better for me. If any of you are familiar with the Richmond, I think it's called the Richmond Players, she's also in drama. And so she's one of the techs over there. They've got
She's
the Addams
also
Family
in
thing.
charge of ticketing for the Armada Fair.
Yeah, her talent is, and what's interesting is when she's been doing this volunteering to just, I can't say enough good things about her. For the Winterfest, she's like, how do you get into this line of work? She's like, I'm really interested in government and like, what else do DDAs do? What is the difference between a DDA and a chamber? I mean, it's interesting, so who knows? I mean, she could be a future director of a DDA somewhere. I mean, it's some pretty neat stuff. So does that answer your question?
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay. All right, Carla, we have you up next again for our,
That's why I tried to keep my other report short. Because this one might not be quite as short.
yeah, I don't think it is going to be.
So Elizabeth and I met to determine a process for this proposed budget. As I put in my finance report, this is a necessary step to realign the budget with actual expenditures so that we're not spending money that's outside of the budget. But it also it's going to have several positive side effects in terms of as you're putting this next year's budget together, you're already kind of getting a better picture of how you're starting to spend your money now that you have a new director. You're going to probably have some new plans and goals, et cetera. So hopefully you found this helpful. We tried to be as descriptive of what the plans included as possible. I put together, so the second 2 pages of it, the proposed budget amendments, that's what will actually be approved by you, tonight if possible, and I guess whatever else we might need to do. But that needs to be approved at the line item level because that was the way you approved your original budget. Hopefully, for the next year's fiscal year 23 budget, we can approve it at this category level, which is kind of how I summarize the first page. It'll actually be cleaner than this, but it will allow you to follow through with the things that you were wanting to do, which was to be able to move money because plans changed. So as long as you're moving money within these categories, which is on the first page, then budget amendments don't need to be made. Line item changes can be made by the director. So I kind of gave you this not only as a summary to understand what these proposed budget amendments, what the effect of them are. I also gave it to you to kind of get you started to look at the difference between a line item budget and a category budget and decide for the next fiscal year which one you would like to approve. Do you want me to kind of give an overview, or have you read it and you just want to ask some questions?
I think you're probably going to have to give an overview because this is new to the board.
Okay.
So that we can just get a hang of.
So generally, when you do budget amendments, no one is too concerned if you have higher revenue than what you budgeted. So normally you don't make too many changes in that area. But because we had this line item 660 prior year rollover project, that needed to be removed for $250,000 because it is not assigned to a specific project. If it's not assigned to a specific project, that money is not going to be spent. So but we did utilize some of that money, down under the expenditures. But the normal thing that would happen with that is it would just roll over into fund balance and become part of retained earnings. And the budget, you just don't do a budget line like that. So that came out, and so because we were making a couple of changes, I went ahead and aligned the revenue section. You can see the other changes are insignificant in general. So the total revenue then went down by the $244,000, which is that third column under proposed budget amendments. That's effectively, that's the change in the budget, and then the column to the right, the proposed amended budget, will become your final budget for fiscal year 22. So when you know how last month I included the audit pages, that was your audit for fiscal year 21. They'll actually show that you approved a budget of the one in the second column that says approved budget at 6/30/22, and then they'll show the they'll call it amended budget for fiscal year 22, and it'll be this right column as long as it's approved. So that's the process, and that's how it will look in your next year's audit and presentation in the village's audited statements, because you're a component unit. So that is the revenue section. Any questions relating to that? Oh, and that's where we show the $2,000 is right there on line 672, other revenue and donations, along with the $900 for the Winterfest banner. Any questions?
So the proposed budget amendments, column 3, essentially reduces that $250,000.
Correct.
To
So if
the
you
new-
see in column 1, projected balance at 6/30, your revenue is $200,000 for the fiscal year. That's how much you expect to receive. So to have a budget of $451,000 really is, it just exaggerates it effectively. It's an option, obviously, because you can spend whatever's in your retained earnings as long as you have the cash to spend it, which our retained earnings and our cash balances are in alignment. But it definitely is not the way it's normally done.
Right. So the 6/30/22, by 6/30/22, we will not be close to this 451,000.
No, your
No,
revenue
she's
is only
taking
going
the
to be
250 out of
200,000.
there.
Actually, is there other questions just in revenue? Because I'll further answer your question. So if you go down, then the next section is expenditures. If you go to the very bottom, the projected balance at 6/30/22 now does show a projected loss of $42,267. So you can, and then right below it I put the beginning fund balance at the beginning of this fiscal year was $243,000. If you apply a $42,000 loss, you'll have a $200,000 remaining fund balance at 6/30/22. Now, the one thing that I was going to point out with the 42,000 loss is one of the objectives that Elizabeth and I discussed was to be a little bit generous in the proposed budget amendments so that we can minimize the number of possible amendments that might need to be done again at 6/30 in June before that year ends. If the money does not get spent, it's not wasted, it just rolls over into the next year. So it's not a significant problem, and when I say generous, I mean it's $1,000 more, maybe, it's not like $10,000 more. So it was just really kind of to just give that little bit of extra cushion so that it won't, hopefully we'll have none, maybe just a couple of amendments that needs to be done in June.
Can I clarify?
Yes.
So the proposed budget amendment amount, at the end of the fiscal year in June, we're gonna have a remaining balance of the 200,000, correct?
Well, you combined a couple of things that, yes. So the projected, if we spent money in accordance with the projected balance, yes.
So that 200,000, how long can that carry over into other fiscal years? I mean, how long can we spread that money out?
Right. I spent a little bit of time reading through the TIF, all the things that outline the TIF, and it really does say that, you're allowed to accumulate money for large projects and so forth. So I don't see that there's any issue. Really, the main thing that they talk about is if there's a dissolution of the DDA or some complications, or if the village decides they can take that money back because it's from them effectively. It seems like you are able to either spend it or to accumulate it. I think the key is that the village has to approve it, whatever you're doing with money with the TIF, which effectively they're doing through your budget. So as long as you're working with them and communicating with them that, okay, we're going to keep this 200,000 and we want to add 50,000 to it over the next 4 years because we want to buy this. As long as they're agreeing, it sounds like you're able to work that.
Is there any restrictions on that money?
Well, the restrictions are that it needs to be spent on the money that's in your master plan. I mean, the projects that are listed in your master plan. Sorry, I misspoke.
Within the district.
Right.
Budget years ago.
Bill, do you have any questions for Carla?
Do we have to, because we're massively redoing our budget essentially, do we need to send this to the village council just as a notation or for their approval? I mean, they have to approve our budget. When they
Right.
approve
Which
the budget,
they did approve it, yeah.
then this budget is really quite different. But maybe it just doesn't matter because it's already March.
I think,
So
yeah,
they have to
going
approve the
forward, when we
amendment.
give them the new one for 2022, 23 is when they're gonna see the changes.
But it's always been in there that we were rolling money over, so they were obviously cognizant of what was going on.
Right. And Tim Sadowski, who is the accountant for the village, as I was talking to him, did request a copy of the financials that I've been preparing, I think for various reasons. So I have been sending them to him. We could probably, you'll be providing them to Christine as a part of the board packet. So they will be aware. In terms of the actual question, whether or not they need to approve it, I would say I would default to Christine or somebody. I'm not sure all of those rules.
It's a reduction in the budget, it's not an increase in the budget. So, I mean, it's a reduction by $244,000. So, at least from my experience, we should be fine. But I can consult, obviously, with the village office on that.
It's all public record, you might as well send it to them.
Does that mean we shouldn't have? I don't know.
What was that, Bill?
It's all public record, you should be sending it to them.
Well, they are, Carla just said that, yeah.
Which is what we always do anyway. I
Right.
mean, the board minutes get approved. I mean, everything gets sent to the village. They have copies of everything every month.
That's a new practice.
Pardon?
I believe that's a brand new practice.
Well, I've been doing it since I came on board.
I'm
So.
I'm not arguing
Which
that.
means it is a new
I'm
practice.
just
Okay.
saying it's a
Yeah.
brand new practice.
John, do you have any questions for Carla?
Well, I could say a few more things if you want me to.
Okay, go ahead. Might answer the questions then.
Well, so normally on a budget, I've expanded this out to include the comments on the right-hand side, et cetera. I did just kind of want to give you an overview thought on for going forward to planning your fiscal year 23 budget, which we'll be presenting at the next meeting. So it's right around the corner. So that's why I stuck that little gray box in there. So that 168,000 is the total of employee expenses, office expenses, the professional services, and then I put the downtown decorations and the CBD events in there, and I called it an annual community promotions number. Now, obviously, this is my own take on it, but because you basically do similar events and similar decorations and the expenditures and so forth are fairly consistent on an annual basis, unless you made a significant change in them, what it's telling you is that of a $200,000 budget, if you spend $168,000 on those items, then it leaves you $35,000 to spend on those revenue sharing and larger projects. Without going into your retained earnings amounts or fund balance that you can utilize for overages for a certain period of time until those are used up. So I just wanted to give you that idea so that as you're planning, you can say, okay, well, maybe if there's a way we could move some of the focus from this area to this other area, and I won't say anything because that's not my decision or I don't have an opinion on it. Now you kind of understand at least what you're working with, the way we've rechanged all of the expenditures by now having a full-time director, and getting involved in more things. The other line item that I did also remove, I guess I didn't put something next to it on this page. I think there's something next to it on the details, but is that 740, that 35,000. She, in the past, when it was approved, that was an amount that was said that was the cash that we needed for operations for the time period where we're not collecting tax revenues. Again, it needs to be assigned to specific things. So effectively, by removing that 35,000, that 35,000 gets reallocated to the areas that we are spending the money. So like to Elizabeth's point, so the revenue went down, the budget revenue went down 244,000. The total expenditures revenue went down 190,000, primarily in the downtown projects. We decreased the revenue sharing and the brick and mortar projects by that 195,000. So you can see that then the overall budget decreased by the 53,900, but it's reallocated in completely different locations. So that's the summary, but you will be approving the line item budget, and so if you want to ask some specific questions, again, I wrote notes between Elizabeth and I, we wrote notes about what the intentions of the expenditures are of the money. Again, unless you think that there's something really exorbitant, like I said, if the money doesn't get spent, it just flows through. My assumption will be that $42,000 net expenditures would be cut at least in half, depending on what is able to be accomplished and what cooperates to be completed. So even approving this budget it does allow to spend all of that money, but it also, if it doesn't get spent, it isn't causing you a financial problem for the current year.
I have a question, and this may be for you and the board. Am I looking at the cost of the flowers and plants and baskets and pots? What percentage of our regular budget is that? Because that looks like it's 37.
It is.
Wow.
This year it's 74,000 for all of those,
How much?
including holidays. It's $74,000.
Okay.
Roughly.
Yeah, the projected balance is 81,000, which out of 200,000,
Wow.
is what, 40% or something.
Elizabeth, if you're wondering if that's a lot of money, because I can hear you thinking,
Mm-hmm.
I'm anxious to go through some of these video trainings. Since I've been a board member, I've often wondered if, once I learn more about, what is really appropriate spending for the DDA, I wonder if that's I just don't know if we're called to spend that much of our budget on those types of things. I'm trying to get my mind wrapped around that more myself.
So to your point, Greg, going through those training sessions might put our focus on other areas.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, my layman's understanding, I'm learning more and more, is that, we're really looking at bricks and mortar and these types of things, but I see maintenance, and I see, go away items and things like that, that don't last forever, so. But I could be wrong, I don't know, I'm anxious to learn more.
I mean, historically, is the board approved that much on,
Oh, yeah,
for how many years?
Yeah.
Wow.
because you can. If you think the flowers are worthwhile, they're gonna cost about $37,000 to $40,000. We went to a, 3-year contract, Megan?
Yeah, we're in
then
we're in
we're-
the third year right
We're in
now.
our 3rd year.
And when does that expire?
This year, this will be the last year of that contract.
So it's
Yeah.
something for the board to look at and reevaluate and see.
I mean, that's just such a significant.
At first, it seems absurd, but the problem, the real cost item that no one ever considers is the watering. And you have to have a truck and a driver and insurance, and all of a sudden you're going, oh my God. And that's what it's gonna cost. We only got one bid on it, I think, didn't we?
Right, right.
And it was, thank God we got that, otherwise you don't do it.
Yeah.
And then the downtown really would look like,
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to say that over the.
John, do you have any questions?
No further questions.
No? Greg?
No.
Megan? Nope. So we have a recommendation to approve the proposed budget amendments at the line item level as detailed by Carla tonight. Can I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second it.
Greg? Roll call, Elizabeth?
Tar,
Yes.
Kellogg,
Yes.
Malzahn is absent. Rose,
Yes.
Hayes is absent. Poznanski,
Yes.
Brandt is absent. Stevens,
Yes.
Parker.
Yeah, but I don't think we've got enough money in there for Christmas lights and other items, but.
But those will be next.
Maybe
That's
maybe
what
you could
comes
put 'em
next.
up.
No, I'm just saying that we all
No.
know they're turning into crap, and
Yeah.
they either don't
That's
do
for
it or we
future
replace it.
Bill, have you seen where I live?
I'm sorry?
Did you know I'm a gardener? I got this.
She's got it.
Plus, we're booking out 2 meetings to go over these kind of discussions, so. Okay.
Thank you,
Pa-
Carla.
Thank you. Carla did.
Yeah.
She,
Thanks, Carla.
you know,
That
she's
was-
been teaching me so much. This was not in my job description whatsoever, doing anything with budget and completely revamping all of this. And she's been an incredible teacher. I don't know if you all realize just how lucky we are to have her.
Can we
helping
keep her?
with all of it? No, because her first priority is to the library. So, thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Carla. I know this was a lot of work to redo these things, so we appreciate it.
You know,
Hopefully they'll serve you well
like
for
that you're gonna have-
She'd only seen me in
Yeah.
tears a couple of
Yeah.
times. So.
Just have them-
Okay, our policy committee. Megan and Elizabeth and I got together because at last meeting we were talking about the social media policy. And I don't know if you all read through, but we kind of hammered it out how we were going to present this. The social media policy really breaks it down to the management of the executive director. She will will manage all the social media accounts with oversight as needed from the board chair. And it just goes through, and hopefully you guys did read this because there's a lot of good stuff in there. I appreciate Megan was able to come. We put her kids with all the sugar in the back room. And then Elizabeth did a lot of this. This is her background. She wrote policy for her former employer. So I think what she's provided us will cover us in all areas. And then she came up with, we didn't talk about this at a board level, but there's a property agreement here. that the person taking the position as the you want to talk about this, Elizabeth?
Yeah, well, let me just touch on the social media
Okay.
policy just briefly. A couple things that were concerning between the three of us was who's going to be the admin, and we all agreed that Elizabeth would have admin rights along with Kelly. And then the other area was postings outside the district. So we had a lot
Yes.
of good conversation on that. And so I put some language in there that postings outside the Romeo DDA would have a supportive and participatory relationship with the events of the DDA. So there's some examples on there, special events and entertainers, fundraising organizations, community festivals, and just different cultural, human resource organizations, things like that. So that would be up to the discretion of Elizabeth and Kelly, to look at who's coming into the village and can we also support them on our social media. So the other thing that I've been used to in working in the corporate world is a property agreement. This agreement protects everybody. In case there's a separation of a board member or an employee, this agreement, basically says, the person will return the property, account passwords won't be changed, they'll abide by all the information and technology social media policies, they'll provide accurate information when they really are separated. They agree not to delete, damage, or alter any of the information, and that most importantly, that there's a respectful, smooth transition when someone takes over that existing position or there's a new employee coming in. So my recommendation is that I have no problem personally signing this. I don't have any equipment or passwords, but in the event that I do at some point, for whatever reason, then this is already on file. So this would be for all of us and Elizabeth as well.
And then you also came up with the separation.
Yeah, so I understand that we don't have an onboarding checklist. When Elizabeth came on board, that's something that we really need to go back and put together. This is a separation if any board member or an employee left the company. This is just a really good list of what we need to do. People forget that a lot, not only collecting equipment, there's notifications that need to be done to, stakeholders and banking institutions, and, you guys can read through this, but it's just a good tool, and this always can be revised or added to or whatever. This was just some of the items that the company I worked for that we did, so.
Megan, did you have any
The only thing I remember, it was one of the last few things we talked about was literally naming our pages in here. We reference Facebook and Instagram, but I wanted to put the literal names of our pages claiming ownership, so that the DDA is claiming ownership of Downtown Romeo, Michigan Facebook page, or whatever the Instagram exact wording is, so that we take the ownership of those pages.
Did you get, because I sent you this information over the Google Drive, did you get it?
No.
You didn't, because Kelly got it, so, okay.
So that would be requiring in the definition of social media,
It would just be
just to
putting
name
the
it out,
just
name it
so
out.
That that
Spelling
we're
it out.
claiming it.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So I would just,
Just put the names on, continue that sentence and put the names in.
So I have a question in line to that. So if we were to change, say, the website name, or if we were to have a Twitter or another thing, how would that then get incorporated into the social media policy if it doesn't exist yet? What would that look like?
Redo it.
Future.
Just put in the name, we'd redo it, why not?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I was just curious.
It usually says something as in the following, but not necessarily limited to, and then you name all of the other.
Well, that's, what am I
things that you're
missing
gonna
there?
do.
It does actually, it does say
Second
that.
paragraph.
Doesn't it say that?
The second paragraph.
it does say
says-
that.
Actually, exactly the way you said it.
It says the Romeo DDA social media sites are not intended to be traditional public forums for the general exchange of ideas and viewpoint, but a limited forum for promoting downtown-related information, growth, and recruitment. The Romeo DDA social media sites include, but not limited to, Facebook, website, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
But nowhere in there do we reference cite back to that name.
But at the top, you're calling it the Romeo DDA social media sites.
I have an idea on that, Megan, because she's right, because I think you started both of them, didn't you?
No, I started Instagram.
Oh, okay. So I think for that one, since you technically own it, it would probably be appropriate if you wrote something to the DDA saying, I am, giving this
Yeah, we
social
talked about that too,
domain
that
to,
signing
I'm
off on.
relinquishing, this domain to.
We did talk about that in the committee, so.
Yeah.
I would imagine that would be, maybe it would be more of just a separate document, I think, is what that would be. Because otherwise we might have to add like all the other things that we have every
No.
time something's added, I'm not sure.
I think if we do that with Megan, that she spells out what she's giving us, then that should suffice, I think, right?
I would think so.
Okay.
So,
Not lawyer.
so we're adding the specific names of these different accounts? No, we're not.
No. She's going to sign off, and she's going to say the exact what she's giving to the
I
DDA.
understand, that's different, I'm not talking about what
Yeah.
Megan's
No,
giving.
I would like us to put the names in there
What I'm saying,
to claim ownership, the DDA to claim ownership of them.
of these names, and not limited to, because there may be some in the future, per
Yeah.
Greg's point or Bill's point, whoever made that point.
And then I think we would just amend it and throw in that, whatever the name of that is called. The Twitter account named this, the Facebook account named that. Being more specific and claiming ownership of that. Just saying a site on Facebook, you could go, well, what site? You never told me what, do you know what I mean? Like,
But this
Actually
says,
putting the name.
this says the Romeo DDA social media
Yeah, I'm a little
sites,
confused on the point, because it does say Romeo's DDA.
which would entail everything that the Romeo DDA has on a social media platform.
What is the name?
and
where-
but
I think
that's
to
what I'm saying,
Megan's-
but what is that?
What is
That's
the
what I'm
name-
saying,
what
is
is
we
the
need
name-
to
actual name you're
say
talking
that,
about?
claim it.
Downtown Romeo.
See, we don't know. Like, that's what I'm saying, is that we need to just claim it, just put the words in there of what they
So I
are.
think, if I may,
Mhm.
I think to Megan's point, I think if there's just a memorandum of understanding, since she and Zach, for example, have been the admin on Facebook, is just a memorandum of understanding saying the website for the Romeo DDA is the following, same thing for the
Just,
other.
yeah,
Because like, for example, we have our website, there's other things that we own, that the DDA owns, right, that's in name.
So
And
we
I
can-
think that would be important to have in like
So
the
maybe it's
onboarding
not in the
file.
policy, but maybe it's on a separate, like the checklist of some sort of what
Yes,
are the names?
absolutely.
Just so that we have that we own this.
Agreed, because it was like looking for Easter eggs when I started.
Okay,
About what
well
we
then
own,
how about
so-
we have that as a memorandum to this?
If you want to make this grammatically correct, because the sentence doesn't mean anything the way it's written. You want to put the word are after, but are not limited to. It says, but not limited to,
The Romeo DDA social media sites,
include,
but not limited
but
to.
are not limited to. And then you put Facebook, website, Twitter, YouTube. You should
Mhm.
put the word, after the word YouTube, you should put and, because that's grammatically how you do it. There's a teacher here someplace who can correct you in the spelling and
So
whatever.
put what after but?
You should put the word are in here,
But
but
are
are
not
not limited to,
And then, and after,
and after the word
Instagram.
YouTube, because that's what you do in a series.
okay,
Before
so,
the final one, you put a comma and then and. I wrote a doctoral dissertation on this, and I know what the hell I'm talking about.
okay. So
Okay,
with.
I'll have you approve all the policies.
With these amendments made, I'm going to make the recommendation to adopt the social media policy, property agreement, and separation checklist for the Romeo DDA as presented.
Or amended?
As amended,
I said
right?
as
As
amended at the
amended,
beginning.
right.
Sorry.
Okay, so who's making the motion?
I did.
You are, okay, all right, sorry. Just clarifying, sorry about that.
Do I still get a question?
And then you seconded it, right?
Go
Yeah,
for it.
cancel.
Jump in.
Covers.
John has a question.
Elizabeth, if you put this together, thank you very much. Very well done. It was also very much needed. Management of Romeo DDA accounts, number 1. Executive director will manage. And then it says, with the oversight as needed from the board chair. What does as needed mean? When is it needed? Who's determining when it's needed?
If she calls me and has a question.
Yeah. I
Okay,
mean,
so Elizabeth is determining it's needed for oversight.
Well, or
from-
when you guys see something like, oh my gosh, what does this
What
director
did you
think
do?
she's doing, you know, and then.
Since there are, besides the executive director and the board chair, there are, the property agreement thing is what that's back here. There are board members, I thought, who had ownership. Maybe we don't, you're saying we don't need to have the board members sign this thing too? Because it's limiting the requirement to sign that to just the board chair and the executive director. Are you sure you want to limit it that tightly? I mean,
Where are you at?
right here. The
Number-
executive will be required to sign the property agreement policy document. You haven't included the co-chair, or what's Zach's job
Well, this is a
here?
different agreement, so this would be required for everybody.
Well, this,
This doesn't go with the social media policy.
yeah, but should it? Do you want to put these other people in there that they're required to sign this thing, which seems logical to me, but
Yeah, number 5 says just the executive
That's
director.
what I'm saying.
Right, but if you're looking at just a social media policy, we're just referencing these 2 ladies. But if you're looking at this is for everybody. So
okay.
this is for Kelly and Elizabeth, and this is, does that make sense? This is for us.
Because that section, it's for the management of the DDA accounts
Right.
and social media accounts, not all accounts, just specifically to social media, right?
Okay. I had a motion on the floor. Does somebody want to second it?
I'll second it.
I think, didn't,
Oh,
Megan
did you?
did.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear that. Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries.
I greatly appreciate the work on this.
Yeah, big time.
Thank you.
May I say something while we're still on that topic, if it's
Yep.
okay?
Yep.
I know when I came on board, that you guys had somebody very part-time, and I was just made aware last year. I didn't realize, just how much of the annual TIF money that came in was held back due to the settlement agreement. And I just have to say, I had a different understanding of, for those of you who've been on the board for a long time, I had an even deeper understanding of just how committed the board has been to actually keeping the DDA going, because it was it's significant. I mean, you guys were literally working on a silly shoestring budget, and as a resident, the downtown has looked phenomenal ever since we've lived here for 15 years. So I'm so appreciative of that. That being said, I would greatly appreciate, if you guys are now the policy committee, some sort of an onboarding checklist in place. Right now, today, I'm dealing with an IT issue that is taking me an exorbitant amount of time because we're trying to get the website changed over. And even though we're with Network Solutions, apparently it's with somebody else, and it's just this goose chase. I mean, I have no IT help, right? So it's just me figuring all this stuff out. And so an onboarding checklist, because someday I won't be here, will be extremely helpful. And also it will help me feel better because there's a separation checklist, but not that one. So it would be really helpful. Whenever you all get that done and developed, I will sign it ASAP, so. And
Well, to your point on that IT issue, whatever it is, you know, we have money here, you know, you've got a limited amount of time. If you have to come to the board or come to whomever, and we go to one of our local computer experts and outsource this as a vendor to solve this problem, no different than you don't have to worry about rehanging the cables on the poles. Think of it as those types of projects, because you weren't hired as an IT expert, and you only have a limited amount of time. You're doing a phenomenal job, but I would just encourage you to stay on on the stuff, and then what you can task out, hire out, I think you find us very agreeable to help with that financially for some local vendor to help solve a problem of yours.
Okay, thank you. And in looking at all of the different line items that we changed, yeah, we did create a decent cushion in there, in the areas that I know we're not gonna spend money on, so, but it will allow.
What is the
me
issue with the IT?
The issue is, so Network Solutions holds the domain name, and I'm learning some of this, but
Now,
then
we
there's
we just paid in the fall.
Yes, but then the parent of that, because Marcel has that, there's another level below, I'm going up, but below Network Solutions. We'll be able to get it, but what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to add all of our, the Microsoft stuff so that Carla and I can be sharing all of these Excel documents, and then when she's gone, or anybody else, it's fluid, right?
Okay.
Just like we work in Google Suites and whatnot, we need to be able to work in Microsoft. But I have to add this so we don't end up with 5 different emails and just silliness. It's just cleaning things up and making
Right.
things run more. It's like we used to have, used to call it in our house, we used to have spaghetti thrown up all over the ceiling of our basement because there were wires and pipes going everywhere in my old house. And so when we fixed that, it's just streamlined. So that's what we're trying to do, but it's just taking time, so.
Elizabeth, besides an onboarding checklist, is there any other supports you need from the board? Any communication issues?
Let me get my Santa scroll out.
I mean, how can we better help you succeed? Because that's obviously the goal.
I'd have to say that tonight, you've already done that. I appreciate you approving this budget as approved. I appreciate you approving this internship. I'm beyond excited, and it's fun. I've been working my tail off for a while. I need to take a little bit of time off. I've put in many weeks of over 60 hours a week, and that's not sustainable. So the help that you've given with seeing the future in this, I think there's a lot of policies that need to be updated. So if I can get, if there's a few of you, if you want me to attend your next meeting, get you a list of what I think policies need to be done. Getting those policies written, you coming on board, having that experience is incredible, and the 3 of you make a great team. And so I think getting those things, you're setting this organization up for huge success.
Can we add Bill Parker to our team?
For wordsmithing.
Wordsmithing I do. I have no idea what you people are talking about.
He's still wondering about his Instagram account.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, Elizabeth did set up Google emails for all of us, and
Oh yeah, that's the last item I need.
Zach had asked that this be put on. Apparently, not everybody's reading her emails or responding to her. So is there another way of communication that you guys would want?
If I'm one of the guilty parties being spoken of, I don't mind it. Elizabeth and I spoke about this a little bit. I don't mind a text or when there's a mission critical email coming through that needs to be responded to. Again, if I'm being spoken of, I could do a better job at it, but a heads up on a mission critical something, I'll never be, how should I say that, ashamed or embarrassed because you have said.
Yeah, you are adding another task, though.
I get it. I'm just saying that, yeah, but you have to understand something too. The commitment of the board now is significantly greater than what it was prior to Elizabeth coming in.
It is.
So, that's why I would just say that if there are mission critical things out there that are time sensitive, don't be afraid to, for me anyway, or send out a group text. Hey, check your emails. There's mission critical time sensitive items.
Well, if that's the case, then should we be group texting? If it's not email, are you saying it's text?
No, I don't think that.
I don't think that's the.
We don't want that. We don't want
Large
that.
documents.
Yeah, you can't do the document
Yeah,
thing.
I think just on occasion, I'm.
I sent out a group email through tonight to ask who was attending, and only John and Elizabeth responded to me
No, I sent you a
Oh.
response.
after I left work.
Yes, it was that, because I didn't get home until 6 o'clock for Pete's sake. Give me a break.
You didn't
Okay, well,
catch
it was
the
after I
time,
left
so-
work then.
You had to respond by 4.
Well, I missed that portion of it.
Well, maybe we can make a more effort to, pop in and check your DDA
Yeah,
email.
I'm concerned because Megan didn't get the Google Drive documents, so we need to check that.
Well, they might be on there, I haven't checked it.
Oh, you haven't checked her email?
I can't, me and Elizabeth had that conversation, I can't get into it right now.
Oh,
We're gonna reset her password and see if that fixes
okay,
it.
okay.
I got a new phone recently, it didn't transfer, my passwords aren't working, I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Fix it. I did, may I say one last thing? Oh, sorry, I can either do it now or I can wait, I'm sorry. Okay, I'll just say it. I have two businesses that are, if you notice, one of the line items that I increased by $5,000 was facade improvements. And I have two businesses that are property owners that are interested in applying for those. So I'm really excited about hopefully them presenting that to us within the next month. This is some phenomenal stuff that's gonna happen downtown. So, yeah, I don't think you guys have approved one of those in quite some time, so that'll be nice. So I just wanted to let you know.
It had been a general attitude that it was a private matter, you know, regardless of our charter.
I'm sorry?
It was generally regarded by the board as being a private matter rather than being something the board should actually be doing.
Oh, so you mean I can approve them without board approval?
No, I mean, the board was hostile to the idea.
Oh, gotcha. But you all just approved a master plan in which you said you are
Do you
paying
honestly think we care
up to
about that?
$30,000
Elizabeth,
a
we're
year.
gonna get out of here fairly soon.
Well, I'm just letting you know that there's something that's in the master plan that's in the
There's a lot
works.
of drivel in that thing, if you really want to go through it.
Right.
DDAs normally have facade.
Absolutely.
It's
It's
programs.
It's capped at a certain amount, signs is 500,
Signs are
I
500.
don't remember what facade is at.
Okay.
So we'll look into that. I just wanted to let you know that there's two businesses that found out about it and they're really, really excited to apply for them. So.
So this continuing education, I think this is a great benefit for us. We're not having to pay, so if we could just make an effort to hop on these, I think it would be a benefit to this board.
I would host a watch party.
You want to do a watch party? Okay.
Yeah.
I'll bring the wine.
Yeah, we'll get some movie popcorn.
Dana Walker, who's the DDA of the MDA, the director of the MDA, she will think that is hysterical.
Elizabeth, do you have anything?
No, is there an expiration date on these?
End of the year.
That's a great question. There is, I believe it's the end of the year.
It is 12.
December.
It's
Yeah.
December.
Okay.
Elizabeth, you'll have it done this week, right? So you're fine.
I may. Especially how to be an effective board member.
Bill?
What? Something else.
No. Do you have any comments?
No, I'll talk to you afterwards.
John?
Thank you tremendously, Elizabeth, on Winterfest.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
As far as the volunteers, you say volunteer their time, they wouldn't have been without your
Yes.
persuasion, and you're hunting them down, and you're putting,
Volunteer.
somebody's gotta put it together.
Thank you.
As far as the point of onboarding checklist, if this is something we should do, can I maybe ask you if you can task maybe Elizabeth to work on that for us?
I think the policy committee was going to do,
Already-
reconvene
That's
into it.
already on the checklist? Okay.
Yep.
And that's all I had, thank you.
Greg?
No, again, just thank you. Fantastic Winterfest. Great job, Elizabeth, on this policy and iron out all that stuff that I don't even think about. It is.
Well, I'm glad that
Thank you.
this Saturday's weather wasn't last Saturday's weather.
I know.
Being 60 degrees.
Yeah.
Megan?
Yeah, I wasn't around for it, but Facebook, from what I could see, the videos looked great. People had good comments, my neighbors and such that went out to it, so went well.
Thank you. It'll be fun. I'm looking forward to other things. I have a meeting a week from today, actually, with someone from the Lions as far as how we can get involved with Mayfest, and we'll do some other things. So, yeah, so thank you.
Can we get a motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Support, motion by Tar, support by Pinansky. All in favor?
Aye.
Look at that. We got you out of here before 9.
Wow.